Adele's life ushered in an explosion in a way that no one expected. Now in the film industry, it is the most widely discussed and deepest, on a par with The Lord of the Rings 3. Even in the field of literary film lovers, Adele's life is more popular than The Lord of the Rings 3, and many people say that they cry when they watch it. Quite a few people, especially the gay community, shouted that this was the best film of the year and that the Golden Globes and Oscars had to have a place for it, otherwise it would be a loss for the awards ceremony. Seeing that big channels such as NBC, ABC, and Fox are all broadcasting similar news, Eric couldn't help but laugh out loud. Such a big thing must not be ignored, and if you don't ignore it, you have to mention some details, which means that you can promote the movie for free. Eric, Mary's Facebook followers for me and Mary have gone up again, and now it's close to 6 million. It's a great feeling. Ashley happily chirped in Eric's face. Ha ha ha, now I wake up laughing every night in my dreams, and the decision to go to Boston was the right one. Eric, do you see that? A lot of people are shouting for me and Ashley Golden Globe and even Oscar. Mary said excitedly, but when she spoke, she couldn't help but take care of other things. The warmth vanished, and a hint of coolness was felt, and Eric reached out and pressed her down again. Woo-ha. That's right. Now it seems that we did the right thing. Less than $2 million, but in exchange for $20 million, or even $200 million in publicity. Right now, the same-sex community and those who support the same-sex community hold both of you up high, which is very good for the prize. Poof. The stick popped out and slapped on Mary's chin, and she looked at Eric with wide eyes. It's up to you next. After this incident, the box office of Adele's life is estimated to exceed 100 million, and MGM can make a lot of money. You have to continue to help us promote it. Hee. The judges are also human beings, and they will also consider factors other than the film, although it is a bit dishonorable to use political correctness to win awards. But we just happened to be there, not deliberately using it. Golden Globe and Oscar. I will definitely help you fight for at least one of them. Ashley grinned and untied her clothes. Mary ate and vomited more attentively, and the three of them began a new round of day-to-day silver. Compared to the less than 500 theaters in the first week, the second week is too exaggerated. With the exception of those states where religion is too strong and too conservative, theaters in the rest of the region come to MGM to ask for the key to the source of the film. So much so that the number of movie theaters in the second week skyrocketed by more than 600, and the scale of more than 1,100 movie theaters also made Adele's life break the film history record. It has become the same-sex movie with the largest number of theaters and the most theaters in the state. This is still early, and there are still a number of theaters that have not caught up with the signing of the contract, so they can only wait until the third week to be released. When the time came to the end of December, the box office of Adele's life was released in the second week, and it was as popular as expected. More than 1,100 movie theaters received more than $35 million at the box office, and the number of moviegoers increased greatly, which undoubtedly exploded, firmly holding on to its position as the runner-up at the weekly box office. The champion is naturally The Lord of the Rings 3, which set a new film and television record at the box office of $87 million and won the box office championship in the second week. While not many people pay attention to the upset numbers in the second week, the Middle-earth Knights have shown remarkable box office potential and resilience. Under the influence of the wave of public opinion, Transformers has also gained gains, and some viewers who have not bought tickets for Adele's life will choose to revisit Transformers again. Coupled with the strong support of the same-sex crowd, Transformers has created a small miracle by reaching $14 million at the North American box office this week, a drop of only 17%. The overseas box office received more than $26 million, and the global total box office exceeded $890 million, officially surpassing Finding Nemo. With a lead of $19 million, It won the North American Annual Box Office Championship, which lasted more than a month and a half, and finally achieved this brilliant achievement. According to this trend, it will be screened for another 2 weeks or so. However, the hope of breaking $1 billion is relatively slim, and breaking $900 million is far beyond Eric's expectations, and he is already content. This achievement will be able to boost MGM's stock price by at least another 10% in the near future. When Adele's life was soaring, Sharknado 2 and The Female Devil also ushered in the release. The former is extremely sand sculpture, and the latter is extremely dark. There is no doubt that after the devastation of Sharknado 1, the audience is not disgusted with this series, but is looking forward to its arrival. Many fans have long been shouting on the internet to break through the IQ limit and want to see what way the screenwriter can come up with to rub the audience's IQ on the ground this time. Just like The Life of Adele, there has never been a sand sculpture movie that has been released on such a large scale as Sharknado, and in a sense, it is also a record-breaking. The release of Sharknado 2 has become an annual sand sculpture carnival. The media that did interviews last year scored twice this year and started random shooting again. ABC's beautiful female reporter walked down the street with a microphone. This is the Kongskat Theater, where we witnessed the madness of the first part of Sharknado last year. I still remember that the young people at that time were crazy. Let's see if this year's Sharknado 2 is still popular. The female reporter walked across the street to the movie theater, and behind her, a group of young people suddenly rushed out, laughing and walking quickly to the movie theater. Originally, the female reporter didn't pay attention to it, but when she saw the skin of this group of young people, white skin, black skin, yellow skin, and brown skin mixed together, she felt a little familiar. Hearing some familiar voices again, the scene from last year suddenly came to mind. "Wait, kids, wait a minute." The female reporter hurriedly greeted her. Hearing this, the group of middle school students stopped. "Hello, kids. I'm a reporter for ABC Entertainment. It's a pleasure to meet you. Would you like to be interviewed?" A group of middle school students were stunned, then pointed at the female reporter and shouted excitedly, "It's you." I remember Ling's face. It was us you interviewed last year, and it was also Christmas, Sharknado 1, right? The female reporter immediately laughed. There was no problem with her memory. It was really this group of children. Hee, yes, it was me last year. After the interview aired, did you become famous? Yes. A group of middle school students immediately cheered. My mom went around telling people that I was on TV, and it was the first time she was proud of me. The girls in the class were willing to date me, and now we're a couple. What are you going to interview today? Won't it still be Sharknado? The female reporter nodded. That's right. Revisiting the old place and meeting the old people, it seems that everything is arranged by God. No, it's the arrangement of Sharknado. Xiao Baizi said loudly, and then a group of young people began to shout in unison. Sharknado! 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 The jubilant appearance immediately attracted the onlookers of passers-by. If it was last year, many people would look at them with strange eyes. But this year is different, and many people show expressions of surprise, as it should be. Okay, boys, stop for a moment. You all know that Sharknado 2 must be another big bad movie. Why do you still have to go to the cinema? Are you kidding? It's just beautiful, just different from the average movie. Now people in our school are watching Sharknado, and if you don't watch it, you won't be able to keep up with the times. That's right, Sharknado is indeed a big bad movie, but it is rotten in style, rotten in height, rotten in style, rotten in style, rotten. You have to take a look at it. Xiao Huangzi, who was wearing glasses, made a delicate summary like a classmate, and his companions nodded in agreement. All right, it's almost time to start. The others hurriedly ran to the movie theater, and Xiao Haizi pointed at the camera as he did last year and said, "Mom, eldest sister, second sister, third sister, fourth brother, little brother, I love you." The female reporter nodded movingly. He still loves his family as much as he did last year, and he is such a good boy. No. Why does it seem like there is another brother than last year, and why is there still no mention of his father? Without a father, how can there be an extra little brother? In the movie theater, Eric and Theron sit together. Watch Ryan Reynolds knock a shark away with a baseball bat and hit a home run, just like the first one to kill a shark with a pool cue. Theron was already smiling from ear to ear, just like everyone else around her. Wait until their family fights sharks at a height of 10,000 meters in the Empire State Building, holding wires to lead lightning into their bodies, and comparing their mortal bodies to gods. Everyone even felt that their brains could no longer think, because as long as they thought, they would be down. The average moviegoer will try to keep it quiet, but the scene of Sharknado is as noisy as possible. Ha 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 ha. I almost burst into tears when I laughed. How could Ryan Reynolds be so funny without changing his face? It's completely impossible to equate the character on the screen with the male number 2 in Transformers, and the separation is too strong. A good actor is inherently versatile, and when you watch The Hangover he starred in, you will know that this kid can not only be handsome, but also easy to do. Theron wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. Who are the screenwriters and directors? Why do they have such big brains? The director is the Wayans brothers, and I don't know the screenwriter, and Alan doesn't know where to find a ninth-rate screenwriter. Ha ha ha. Is this really a disaster movie? Honey, I'm sorry I haven't seen the first one, but how about we make up for it tonight? No problem, in fact, if you think about it from a different angle, from a human perspective, Sharknado is indeed a disaster movie. But if you look at it from the shark's point of view, this is a death is coming, a fancy way to kill a shark. If you think about this kind of movie for a second, you don't trust the screenwriter and don't take responsibility for the director. It's a great waste of the prefrontal lobe of my brain, and it's a great disrespect for the special effects level of the print shop owner. Brother, what you said is fantastic. In front, an old man turned his head and stretched out his thumb. And in the same cinema, the theater next door is showing The Devilous, starring Theron. In contrast to the NATO on the other side, the audience was solemn, and no one made any noise except for the occasional cough. Under MGM's operation, the plot of The Witch is darker than the original. Promiscuity, pedophilia, drug abuse, alcoholism, abuse, lesbianism, violence, robbery, homicide. The heroine Erin, played by Theron, was born with a full-level debuff, as if she had collected the darkest factors in the world. There is not a single minor in this theater, because it is too dark and deep, so it is properly classified as NC-17. The vast majority of viewers can't associate the sturdy woman with no eyebrows and a square mouth on the big screen with the sexy and glamorous Charlize Theron. The sense of contrast is much greater than that of Ryan Reynolds' 2 films. At least the little's face has not changed. And it also involves the relationship between lesbians, and the luck of the female devil is very good, just in time for the bonus period created by Adele's life. There is now a strong demand for this genre, and more than 800 theaters have been released in the first week. If it is issued by a small company, it will not be able to catch up with the special period, and there will be 200 of them to burn high incense. However, Eric does not have too high expectations for the box office of The Female Devil or That Factor, which is too dark and deep. It's a time of celebration and joy for the peer community, and everyone wants to see sincere love, preferably comedy. Although Adele's life ended in tragedy, at least Leon was bright and fresh in the process, giving people a warm feeling. The Devilous is the opposite. The name of the movie gives people a bad feeling. Late at night, after watching the movie, Eric and Theron returned to their apartment. After watching the first part of Sharknado, the two lay in bed and made love. Honey, do you think I can win the award for The Devil Girl? Why not? Your performance is very good. You have gained weight and become ugly, and Oscar likes actresses to be ugly the most. And as far as this year goes, there haven't been any great films from a female perspective so far. Commercial films are excluded first, and maybe Naomi Watts in 21 Grams is good, and Diane Keaton's performance in Love is a Compromise is okay. Although the film Lost in Translation is good, Scarlett Johansson's performance is clearly not up to the master, and the threat is not strong. Overall, the competition for actresses next year is far less fierce than this year, and you have a high probability of winning the award, baby. Theron bit him in the chest. Are you pretending to be a fool? Why can you miss Adele's life? The Olsen sisters are hot right now. Many people say that the two of them will definitely win the crown of actress, and they are both directed by you. Jealous? Eric lifted her chin. No, that's your work, and the Olsen sisters are doing really well, I can see it. It's just that it's hard to get such a good role again. I'm afraid this is the only chance, and I won't even be qualified to be shortlisted in the future. Eric chuckled and hugged her tightly. Baby, I will try my best to tilt resources towards you. Whoever makes me love the most is you. We will do our best to compete for the queen. Does talking count?
No.
Nasty. MGM building, and there are two men sitting in front of Eric. One is a familiar beard, and the other is also familiar, but the face is still immature. Eric, he's Kevin Feige, the young man I talked to last time. He has his own unique perspective on comics and film and television, and he's an expert on it. After Avi Arad's introduction, the young Kevin Feige smiled and took the initiative to reach out his hand. Hello, Mr. Cooper. I'm Kevin Feige. A future member of the big man was about to arrive, and Eric happily shook his hand. Hello. Avi has mentioned you many times that you will be the one who will help Marvel rise again, and he has a very high opinion of you. At this time, Kevin Feige was only 30 years old, and he was not in a high position, nor had he held a lot of power, and he only served as a middle-level cadre in Beechcraft Toys. In the face of Eric's praise, although the other party is much younger than himself, he does not have the calmness of later generations, but is a little restrained. I just loved reading comics since I was a kid, and Avi said he wanted me to come to Marvel to help him, and I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do what I love, and there's nothing more fortunate than that. That's right, doing what you love is the happiest thing in the world. Hee, I agree. After meeting and chatting for a while for the first time, Kevin Feige was a little uneasy, but he was very eloquent. Being able to speak means understanding communication, and being able to face both up and down is very good, which can effectively speed up the progress of work and solve difficulties. Avi Arad has a big problem with this. He used to be the director of Perlmutter, but after completing the share swap, Perlmutter left Marvel directly, and he no longer bothered to care about this mess in his eyes. With Kevin Feige to help, Avi Arad's shortcomings can be compensated. Kevin, my personality has always been suspicious and suspicious. You have a deep understanding of comics, and you have worked with the production of movies, so you know the doorway. So now I officially invite you to join Marvel, and you will be the vice president of Marvel in the future, so let's create a better tomorrow together. Kevin Feige nodded again and again with a little trepidation. The position of vice president was really unexpected. When Avi Arad approached him, he promised a position such as head of production or head of creativity, which belonged to the middle and upper echelons of the company, but was worse than the vice president. I didn't expect Eric Cooper to be even more bold than Avi Arad. His heart couldn't help but roar. Fuck, this wave is going to take off. Of course, boss, I will definitely work hard and make sure to do my best to be Marvel. Well, I believe you. Avi told you about my plan. Marvel is going to create a cinematic universe that links all superheroes, referred to as MCU. Yes, I was blown away when I heard the idea, and to be honest, I had it many years ago. That's better. Now we're preparing for Captain America. You guys follow Marvel's current resources, hurry up and make a relationship diagram. I need the structure of the first phase of the MCU. Kevin Feige understands that this is the first test the new boss has given himself. But he is full of confidence because he believes that no one knows Marvel better than himself. Wait, Eric, in addition to bringing Feige to meet you this time, there is actually another very important thing.
Avia Arad interrupted suddenly.
What's the matter? Copyright, the copyright you told me before, there is progress. Get the rights back, said Eric, a little surprised. Although the superhero movie is not yet popular, the Spider-Man and X-Men series have proved that a good shot can definitely make a lot of money, and there are still people who are willing to return the copyright. Avi Arad nodded. 20th Century Fox and New Line are willing to sell us back the characters in their hands, Daredevil and Iron Man. It's just that the opening price is a bit high. Daredevil Fox costs $15 million, and the new Iron Man line costs $10 million, and when it was first sold, it was not even half. Bye, said Eric, who didn't even think about it. Just kidding, $25 million can buy back two valuable superheroes, and it's too worth it. Eric couldn't help but ask, did Fox and the new line have a brain twitch? Eric, have you forgotten? Early last year, Fox released Daredevil, starring Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, and Colin Farrell, and spent $80 million to make a piece of shit. Whether it's fans, viewers, or critics, it's rubbish to spray movies almost universally, and Ben Affleck's wedding has been postponed because of this. $80 million is not a small number, especially for a superhero like Daredevil who doesn't need a lot of special effects. That's why they can't shoot it well. Judging from the current box office and word of mouth, don't think about the sequel. Daredevil is destined to be refrigerated. So when I went to communicate, Fox pretended to have an internal meeting for a few days and then happily agreed to sell Daredevil and the related extensions back to us. In addition to Daredevil, there are Erica, Bullseye, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. In short, we can shoot our own League of Defenders. What about the Golden Soldiers? Asked Eric. Jean Bing belongs to the public villain and appears in many superhero works, so the copyright also belongs to several companies. Well done, Avi. Eric gave a thumbs up. Although these superheroes have different popularity, such as Daredevil, who belongs to the second tier and is not as good as those big brothers, they have also gained a group of loyal fans by relying on their own characteristic personal magazines. Erica was created by the companion Daredevil, and her popularity is much lower than that of the blind lawyer, but there are also fans who recognize it, otherwise Fox would not have given her a personal movie later. But judging from the current situation, Erica's solo movie must have been cancelled, and Jennifer Garner can't make it any more beautiful. What's more, Eric remembers that the movie was also very rubbish, and it failed at the word-of-mouth box office, losing money. As for Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Tekken, none of them can reach the third line, and their popularity belongs to relatively low superheroes. Otherwise, there will be no debut of the Defender Alliance, and those who have the ability are individual trainees who will take the team route. Among these few, only Daredevil is on the big screen, but Fox has just been filmed, and Marvel will definitely not be able to start it in a few years. Angstrom. Rick can only think of one way in his mind, which is to make a TV series like Netflix and then broadcast it on Lionheart, at least to add some excitement to Lionheart. Now that you have got the rights back, don't let them be idle. Shoot the Daredevil TV series first, and if the response is good, then develop a few other superheroes. Avi Arad nodded in agreement. Well, I think the same way. The TV series has a small investment, and there is Fox's stool in front. As long as the quality of our shooting is passable, the audience will be very satisfied. And what's going on with the new line? Didn't you still talk about asking Tom Cruise to play Tony Stark last year? I gave up, and the president of the new line, Gillant, thought that a person wearing hundreds of pounds of armor flying in the sky was insulting the intelligence of the audience, which was completely unscientific. Eric has a black question mark on his face, Superheroes talk about science? That's why are they slapping Blade? Aviarad shrugged. I don't understand it at all. Maybe it's because Blade's car is a motorcycle, at least it's down to earth. And Iron Man himself is engaged in science, and even in the comics, he even grew a wisdom gem in his brain, so it makes some old-fashioned people think it is not scientific. I think it's probably because the special effects are too expensive. The new line doesn't want to gamble. The Blade Warrior can be shot for $300 or $400 million, and the Iron Man can only shoot steel for 30 or 40 million, and there is no hero. Kevin Feige complained. And his complaint is probably the main reason for the new line to give up. Eric, what are you going to do with Iron Man? Asked Aviarad. Shoot, Daredevil can be on the big screen. Why can't Iron Man? But aren't we going to shoot Captain America? I mean, it's going to be done at the same time, with 3 projects starting together. Will it be? Seeing Kevin Feige stop talking, Eric knew what he was worried about. You don't have to worry about money. MGM will contribute most of it, and Marvel will contribute a part, which can be regarded as a cooperative project between the 2 companies. Kevin Feige couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, he was rich, with a budget of at least $250 million for the 3 projects, and he really followed a golden thigh without blinking an eye. Is there anything else? Asked Eric. There's also a story about the Hulk. The Hulk that Universal asked on Lee to shoot failed just like Daredevil, so he also intended to sell the rights to us. Well, why don't you talk about it together? Because Universal has reservations. They want to only sell the filming rights and keep the distribution rights of the Hulk movies themselves, and I don't think you will agree. Eric sneered. Good idea. Do you want to copy the Titanic? I will need it to be released. Avi, you replied to Universal, either sell it to us together or forget it. Hulk is a first-line hero, and the price can be appropriately higher. In addition, after I go back, I will go to the hero library to find a few potential heroes, and I plan to make it into a TV series. 2003 is over and time is in 2004. The Christmas war continues, with new films coming to the fro every week, although most of them are reduced to cannon fodder. Because even the world's largest film market, Hollywood can't tolerate dozens of movies opening at the same time, even the hottest schedule of the year. There are so many movie theaters. The film schedule is placed there. You have more and he has less, and the third party may only be able to eat 1% of the film schedule. At present, the top of the list is still The Lord of the Rings 3, which is the first to ride the dust fault. In second place is the hilarious Sharknado 2, which is loved by Christmas audiences to cheer with friends or bring their families to laugh. 2,500 movie theaters directly cut $53 million at the box office, and a single company exceeded $20,000, surpassing the same sand sculpture of Screaming 3. The media interviewed the Wayans brothers and asked them what is the reason why Sharknado 2 surpasses the Scream series, which they also created themselves. Their answer is because the former is more brainless, and the only one that can beat Sharknado 2 is probably next year's Sharknado 3. Ryan Reynolds, a little cheap, now holds the 2 major commercial IPs of Transformers and Sharknado, and has become the hottest first-line actor. All kinds of film appointments are coming. In the past, it was the drama that picked people, and now it is people who pick the drama. In third place at the box office is The Life of Adele, which has been released in more than 400 theaters this week, earning $27 million in a week. The North American box office has reached $83 million in 3 weeks, and the excellent word of mouth has prompted the film to land in some open countries, such as Europe, Asia, and South America, and it has also received $24 million at the box office in a week, and the global box office has exceeded $100 million. The Olsen sisters are extremely happy. This is the best result they have ever achieved, and they can say that they are more than 100 million heroines in the future. On the other hand, The Female Devil is more miserable, with more than 800 movie theaters only getting $7.33 million at the box office in a week. When Patty Jenkins and Theron saw this data, they could only smile bitterly. The plot is so dark. Everyone knows it will be bad, but I didn't expect it to be so bad that it became Eric's worst movie after he became MGM. Sorry, dear. Theron lay on Eric's back, his tone a little bitter. Eric patted her ass and comforted, "Don't be sorry, baby. I didn't expect to make money from this film. It was meant to be for you to win awards." "You've been so good to me, Eric." Hee. The cost of The Female Devil is not high. Even if you add the publicity, it is almost $30 million US. Even if the box office will lose money, you can slowly earn it back through copyright in the future. Take a step back. Even if you lose tens of millions, what can you do? As long as you're happy. It is said that in the eyes of women, men are the most chic when they spend money, and this sentence makes a lot of sense, because Eric has experienced it firsthand from Theron. This night, he unlocked several positions that he had always wanted, and he had a lot of fun. Transformers won $23 million at the global box office and officially entered the 900 million club with a score of 913 million. However, the North American box office only has $7.3 million, ranking 11th on the list. In front of it is Tim Burton's classic, Big Fish, Julia Roberts, Kristen Dunst and Julia Stiles co-starring in Mona Lisa's Smile, Jude Law and Meg Ryan starring Cold Mountain. According to the original time and space, Cold Mountain should be starring Jude Law and Nico, but now that Nico is filming La Vie en Rose, the butterfly effect has long been instigated. There is also The Girl with a Pearl Earring, starring the widowed sister Scarlett Johansson, and this year's Hollywood seems to like to use world-famous paintings as names. At this time, Transformers has reached the end of the crossbow, and there is still 1 week to go. But the departure of the Autobots is symbolizing the resurgence of the Prairie Lion. NASDAQ, the bell is ringing. NASDAQ Stock Exchange, one of the stock trading centers in the world today, is where thousands of stocks are traded every day. Although it is not as rich in history and heritage as the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ is the first stock exchange to adopt electronic trading. And the growth rate is amazing, especially after entering the 90s. The internet exploded. As the main battlefield of technology stocks, the NASDAQ soared into the sky, like a wild horse on the loose, all the way wild, unstoppable. Of course, the end of the global investors have seen it. The soaring is too much, it is a bubble, and then the bubble bursts, leaving a place of chicken feathers and trapeze. That is to say, the capital market does not engage in macroeconomic regulation and control. Otherwise, the state will not be forced to intervene. In fact, it will not collapse so much. Just like the real estate and infrastructure sector, using policies to prevent a big fall can at least temporarily hold the bottom of the real estate and related infrastructure sectors, and the fall will not fall so fast. This bottom can be held, and the bottom of reinforced concrete, wood building materials, quarrying and smelting and other fields can be held, and many people's jobs will not be smashed. In the next few years, new economic growth points have been found, and areas that have gradually replaced the bursting bubbles have been gradually replaced, and as long as the fiscal situation can be relieved, there is hope for a steady landing. It's just that the process will lead to a lot of dissatisfaction. After all, when it comes to fairness, it may be another group of people. Since the NASDAQ is the main battlefield of technology stocks, and the film companies are also divided into the high-tech field, they are generally listed on the NASDAQ. As for why film companies are classified in the field of technology, this is best known to people who like to work on special effects, such as Industrial Light and Magic, Weta Digital, and James Cameron. Many of the technologies innovated in this field have been fed back into the military, civilian, and other fields, of course, technology companies. New York, Manhattan, D.C., next to Times Square is the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. A black Lincoln sedan drove slowly down the street and finally stopped in front of the exchange, and Cooper and his son stepped out of the car. Looking at this familiar building, Charlie Cooper sighed with some emotion. I left here more than a year ago. MGM's stock disappeared from the big screen, and everyone was laughing at me. I'm afraid they couldn't have imagined that in just a short time, MGM has made a comeback. Eric smiled. Dad, those people who laughed at you were just clowns, and now there are countless people watching us, and even though they are not here, I can still feel those expectant eyes. Hee hee, you mean the people in the company? Not only that, but there are hundreds of thousands of shareholders, and now we are a high-performance stock. Eric, in fact, your prospectus is not very sensible to write like that, and it directly announced that you want to use the money to pay off the debt, and we still owe Kerkorian and the three major banks $2.1 billion. It's a huge amount of money, and shareholders buy our shares in the hope that we will use the money to expand our business, not that we will use it to pay off our debts. Even if you want to do this, it's not good to say it publicly. At least don't pay it back so much at once, and the money in the bank can continue to be owed. Eric disagreed. Dad, you told me that film is a storytelling industry, and our story is exciting. The other day's internal IPO yielded $520 million, and I thought Judy would have eaten more. But let alone 15%. They couldn't even take 10% of the shares, and in the end they only ate 8.7%. What does this mean? It shows that the market expects a lot of money from us, and our stock is worth a lot of money. This figure was evaluated before anyone could have imagined that the Transformers box office could exceed 900 million, otherwise it would be even more exaggerated. What do you do with the remaining 6.3%? Originally, it was planned to be put on the market together, but after thinking about it, I sold these shares to some good friends. Is it a good friend or a girlfriend? A good friend and girlfriend. The 6.3% stake was sold by Eric to 1% each of Theron, Nico, Godot, and Olsen at an internal price. However, Godot has just become famous and is still very poor, so the money is given to her by Eric. With this 1% stake, it is enough to make them billionaires in an instant. Even the richest Nico was shocked by Eric's generous shot and unlocked a whole bunch of poses. Eric's approach paved the way for everyone to be honest with each other in the future. The remaining 1.3% was sold to my who spent too much. He also takes care of the work of Art Records, and Eric still owns half of the shares, which is 1.3% compensation. Next to him, seeing his son's high-spirited appearance, Xiao Leon Cooper had the heart to say a few words, but after thinking about it, he shut up. Reality is the best proof of this. MGM is thriving under Eric's leadership, much stronger than when it was in its own hands. Looking at the rising Tyleon in the distant sky, Charlie Cooper suddenly felt a little tired. Maybe it was time for him to retire. Eric, I suddenly had an idea. I can't say suddenly, in fact, this idea has been around for a while, but I would love to tell you today. What? Eric looked at him, sensing that his father's tone was a little strange. I think it's time for MGM to be completely in your hands, and although you have the real power, this title should also be given to you. Actually, I was going to continue to work for a while, at least until your Lionheart network is launched. Although Dad's ability is not outstanding, but at least he can help you shelter you from some wind and rain. But now it doesn't seem to be needed. I believe that with your ability, you don't need this, and it is those guys who should be worried. Unexpectedly, his father suddenly came out like this, and Eric was a little unexpected. Now MGM is indeed in charge of himself, but deep down, he still hopes that his father will continue to sit in this position. It doesn't matter if you attract firepower. The presence of a key dad can help you share a lot of chores. For example, attending a drinking party, attending a party, attending a charity event, etc. Experienced people know that these things are very distracting. If Eric were a little Karami, he would be looking forward to participating in these events and hoping to expand his network. But in fact, There are not many people who are worthy of Eric to make friends in person, and many invitations cannot be turned down. Dad is equivalent to the King of England, and Eric is equivalent to the Prime Minister, which is probably such a position. But isn't it good that our father and son cooperate? But you can do just as well without me, can't you? Decided. When? Just for a few days, anyway. Now that the outside world knows that you are the real leader of MGM, my continued dominance may cause suspicion. The market must also want you to be an absolute leader, and when you become the president and chairman of the board of directors of MGM, the stock price will definitely go up a lot. It's my last contribution to the company. And you don't know Joshua's situation. He can't play the main team of the 76ers for half a year. It seems that it's time to change the track. Your mom told me not to be biased, so I'm going to give him $10 million to start a business as well. I don't expect Joshua to be as good as you and have his own business. That's pretty much it. Listening to his father's heartfelt words, Eric knew that he had made up his mind and that his departure could not be changed. In this case, there is no need to force it to stay. It is not bad to let the elderly rest and rest. Stay away from the temptation of Hollywood, and it should be good to go to worship with my mother more. On the Nasdaq exchange, Eric and Shaylee Cooper stand on the stage. Boom! As a bell rings, it symbolizes MGM's relisting. The flash slam rattled. A large number of media captured the moment, and the press announcement had already been written, just waiting for the photo to be released. Even though he is used to this scene, today is not only in the field of entertainment, but also in the field of finance and society, and the number of flashes still makes Eric a little unable to open his eyes. And with MGM relanding in the market, shareholders who couldn't wait for the hungry and crazy immediately rushed to buy, and the stock price suddenly began to rise like the Mutai line chart in later generations. Many investors who don't pay attention to the entertainment field only notice this at this time, and a long-lost stock rode into the dust, and the gains quickly rushed into the first echelon. OMG! A high-quality stock that popped up out of nowhere. Buy it quickly, buy it quickly. What's going on? What kind of stock is this? MGM? Didn't the film company get bought because of poor management? Stupid. Transformers, which caused a frenzy of movie watching not long ago, and Adele's Life, which is now in theaters, were both filmed by him. What? Looking at the stock price that is spiraling into the sky, Eric said confidently, I'll just say they won't care. Our story is telling a wonderful story. Yes, it looks like a lot of millionaires are going to be born, Dad said with a sigh. What's happening in the stock market spreads as quickly as it grows wings. Soon, the relevant financial, entertainment, and other sectors on the internet and TV began to broadcast. On the morning of January 15th, MGM Studios, which had been delisted for 510 days, was relisted on the Nasdaq, and the company's current president, Shaylee Cooper, and vice president Eric Cooper completed the bell-ringing ceremony. It is reported that the market expectation is very good because Cooper and his son have been doing well since they took over MGM, and almost all of the works produced by the company are profitable. After assessment, MGM's market capitalization will reach $7.127 billion, which is 2.3 times what it was before delisting. In this relisting, MGM will issue 30% of its shares to raise capital and repay debt, for a total of 100 million shares, or $21.35 per share. After the market opened, the enthusiasm of shareholders was extremely high, and the stock price rose all the way, and as of press time, it was up 31% to $27.96 per share. MGM's market capitalization has risen 31%, and the company has surpassed Paramount to become the sixth of the 7 major film and television companies. Yeah. The MGM building was instantly plunged into a sea of joy. The company's listing is good for everyone, and the instant net worth of buying shares in advance soared, and it is still rising. Those who did not buy stocks made less money, but the salary increase was certain. The bigger the company does, the higher the employee's salary will naturally be, and the year-end bonus will also increase. In the excited gaze of countless pairs of eyes, MGM's stock price did not gradually slow down until noon. At this time, the stock price has reached $33.73 per share, up 58% from the open, and the market value relative to MGM has also swelled to $11.26 billion. Not only surpassing Paramount, but also Universal and Sony Columbia. Second only to 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers. The former has a market capitalization of $11.988 billion, and the latter has a market capitalization of $13.56 billion. However, it is still a little far from Disney, and although Mickey Mouse's market value is far less than that of later generations, it still has $22.7 billion with more extreme copyright development and park revenue. MGM can only reach half of the family for the time being, and even this half of the market value is inflated. After all, movies are a storytelling industry, and a Transformers can make the stock price take off, and a big production can also make the stock price fall quickly. Perlmutter shook his fist hard. This time he was right, although he only owns 3.6% of MGM. But according to the current stock price, if you sell, you can cash out more than $400 million in an instant, but a fool will cash out now. Kevin Feige's eyes widened. No wonder the boss was so generous, and the 3 projects were launched at the same time, because it was really not bad for money, and he felt that his future was brighter. The women are cheering, the best friends are cheering, the best friends are cheering, and the employees are cheering. Of course, not everyone is happy, and if there is anyone who is unhappy, Harvey Weinstein is one of them, and so is James Murdoch. There are also people who have an enmity with him, such as EMEM and Sony Group. It's a pity that in the face of MGM's rise, there is nothing they can do. At this time, NBC's Financial Channel was airing a Forbes Rich List inventory program. Hello, everyone. Forbes magazine's 2003 list of the world's billionaires has been announced, and there are 476 billionaires from 43 countries and regions around the world who are worth more than $1 billion. Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft, continues to top the list of the richest people with a net worth of $40.7 billion. Financial investor Warren Buffett continues to be in second place with $30.5 billion in assets. The male host was carefully taking stock of the list, and a small note suddenly came next to him. He took it and looked at it and continued. Sorry, we seem to be in a bit of a special situation. Just this morning, MGM Pictures on the Nasdaq went public, and we calculated a new super-rich person based on the current share price. Eric Cooper, a vice president at MGM but the de facto controller of the company, directly owns 27.7% of MGM, worth $3.119 billion. But the shareholding statement shows that a company called AK Films holds a 20% stake in MGM, worth $2.252 billion. And AK Films is actually created by Eric Cooper, is wholly owned, so Eric Cooper actually controls 47.7% of MGM shares, with a total value of $5.371 billion. Saying that, the male host spread his hands exaggeratedly and made a wow expression in great surprise. If MGM had gone public 20 days earlier, as long as it hadn't been out in December, he would have been included in last year's Forbes Rich List. But the list is already out, so it can't be changed. But as the world's first super-rich man in 2004, we ranked him. If you put the assets of $5.371 billion in 2003, he will occupy the 77th place on the list of the world's richest people. Ahead of him is $5.44 billion from Amazon founder Bezos. But if you limit the age to under 30, Eric Cooper will undoubtedly be the world's richest man. Beverly Hills, Cooper's house. Under the bright moonlight, Eric stood at Leontai answering the phone while looking at the pool in the courtyard. Eric, congratulations on MGM's relisting, and even more on becoming the world's richest young man. On the phone, Han Sanping said auspicious words loudly. But Eric was calloused when he heard these words, and he had received too many congratulatory calls that day. Not to mention the ears. Even the eyes and fingers are sore, because I still have to read text messages and text back. Those who can contact their personal phone numbers are acquaintances, and it is not good to snub anyone, and it is not good to look good if you don't return face. After coming out of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, Dad flew back to Los Angeles first, and Eric went to meet Sergei Halsenfeld. This old boy is now proud, not only emotionally, but also in his career. Emotionally, he fought with Kate Winslet. The withered heart seemed to come to life again, boxing stopped, and a new stimulus was found. He even had the idea of divorcing his wife, but Eric advised him to think carefully that marriage was not a trivial matter, especially for a wealthy and successful man like him. The distribution of property is a big problem, as well as children, and his uncle Alan Hazenfield will not agree. Affected by the movie, Transformers toys sold like crazy, and Hasbro's stock price also soared, almost catching up with MGM, and its market value exceeded $10 billion. It's peak times, and Alan Hazenfeld won't allow the slightest bit of bad news to affect the stock price, including Sergei's marital problems. Who made Sergei the one in charge of Hasbro on the surface? His relationship with his uncle Alan is the opposite of that of Eric and Charlie Cooper. MGM Eric is the Prime Minister and Charlie Cooper is the King. Hasbro Alan is the Prime Minister and Sergei is the King. After listening to Eric's persuasion, the hot-headed Sergei gradually calmed down, knowing that he was thinking too simply. He hated Alan Hazenfield more and more, and cursed loudly that with this old thing, he was afraid that he would not be able to turn over in this life. Eric asked him about the sales of his toys, and Sergei said that he did not know the statistics, but there were estimates. In just over 2 months, Transformers toys have surpassed sales for the entire year of last year, almost doubling. Following this trend, after a while, there is really hope of quadruple sales. Once this number is reached, it means that the maximum terms of the VAM agreement signed by the two parties will be fulfilled. Hasbro would then be faced with two options, either to pay MGM 55% of its toys' net profits, a figure that could reach $500 million or more. Either they would have to pay a 4% stake in MGM. And once the equity is in the hands of MGM, there are more operational means, and it can be sold directly to Eric personally. Anyway, MGM has the final say, but it is left hand to right hand. If he gets this 4% stake, Eric will have a 20% stake in Hasbro. It will instantly surpass Alan Hasenfeld's 17% and become Hasbro's largest shareholder. Now the key to the matter is Sergei. Eric has helped him so much. This guy is very dissatisfied with Alan, and it is not difficult to get him. Thinking back, Eric said, "The first sentence of congratulations can be accepted, and the latter sentence is forgotten. What is the world's first young rich man?" That kind of thing is all indiscriminately arranged to attract attention. Only some public assets are counted, and many big families and large groups are the invisible assets, and they can't be counted at all. Old Han laughed. People have invisible assets. Don't you have them? You say no, I don't believe it. In short, you are the richest person I know on the Forbes list. Huaxia is only shortlisted, Ding Lei, who is engaged in the internet. The gap is still relatively large, and if you have time to come over to guide the work, those rich people in China will definitely be happy to come to the class. The two chatted for a few minutes, and Eric found an excuse to hang up. Han Sanping is right, others have invisible assets, and he has a lot of them in his hands. After more than half a year of operation, the company's products are becoming more and more prosperous. When Peppa Pig and Rick and Morty are produced, the products are highly compatible with Double Star Entertainment, And although the peripherals are not as good as Transformers, they will definitely be the sales of big IPs. He bought the shares back from Solnay for $300 million, and now the valuation has doubled, and it will multiply if the company goes public. The 16% Hasbro stake is also worth a lot of money, with more than $1.5 billion at the current share price and growing. Not to mention the value of Facebook, YouTube, and Lionheart. Now he really can't compare to those super second generations. But given time, perhaps only 10 years, the name of the world's richest man must be Eric Cooper, and he will hold it for a long time. When I returned to the dinner table after the call, my mother complained with some dissatisfaction. "These people are really good. Why don't you pay attention to the time?" The little nanny, Lisa, reheated the cold meal again. "Eat quickly, Eric. There will definitely be a call later." "It's okay. It's fine after today." Why is today's stew so fragrant? It doesn't taste like chicken. It doesn't taste like pork. What is it? It's ostrich meat. It tastes very good, and it's been treated with a special technique, Mom said with a smile. Eric nodded and took another big bite. "It's delicious. Why did you suddenly remember to eat ostrich meat today?" "Someone else sent it, and I just did the secondary processing according to the method." "Who sent it?" "Nicole Kidman." "Ah, Nicole Kidman. Why did she give you ostrich meat?" "No, how did you meet? Don't you dislike her?" Eric clearly remembers that after last year's Oscars, he and Nico were full of scandals. Mom has a lot of opinions after hearing about it, and she has more or less heard about the bad debt between Nico and Tom Cruise, so she doesn't have a good impression of each other. "Eric, God teaches us to look at a person with our time and heart, not with our eyes, and I must admit that I was wrong. Based on past media reports, I made the wrong judgment that Nicole was a problematic woman. But when we met at church some time ago, it turned out that she was also a devout Catholic and had a deep understanding of the Bible. We became friends, and she gradually opened up to me about a lot of the past, including that bad marriage. But I have to keep it a secret for her. I can't tell you the details, but it's really not Nicole's fault. She's a victim too. Those gossip tabloids are so annoying, always chasing after the wind and reporting indiscriminately, and a good woman is twisted into a crazy woman by them." Seeing that his mother was upset for Nico, Eric's eyes widened. He suddenly remembered that some time ago, when the two of them were together, Nico asked him if he usually did worship or something. After a few words of chatting at the time, Eric didn't take it seriously at all. After all, the two of them usually chatted too much. Who would care about this? "I didn't feel anything at the time, but now that I think about it, I guess this little girl is playing tricks on him." Then she secretly contacted her mother without herself and successfully reversed her image, and the two became good friends, which was really surprising. When the two become best friends, Eric will engage with her again, which is equivalent to directly staging a deadly woman. Thinking about herself, Nico is undoubtedly the most active, often talking about marriage, consciously or unconsciously. Eric certainly knew what she was thinking, and usually slapped around. Has been mixed up a lot of times, and it is estimated that she is also a little resentful in her heart, so she occasionally gives herself a surprise attack. She doesn't have any bad intentions, it's more because she is much older than Eric and insecure in her heart, so she is more anxious. She also talked about the topic of children, afraid that she would not be easy to get pregnant in a few years, and now she is about to cross the threshold of advanced maternal age. So deep down, I'm worried about when Eric will give him a surprise attack, but this time it may be more ruthless. Maybe it's a breakup. In order to catch a man, he can only work harder to find a way and find a way. Rating a kiss at the Emmys was obviously a bad idea, and Eric taught her a lesson afterwards. But this time, Nico seems to have found the right way, and it is finally a good way to break through from her mother. Comparatively speaking, several other women are less active. At least they have not expressed their attitudes towards marriage. Godot is only 19 years old, and the Olsen sisters have just turned 18, so they have no idea about it at a young age. Although Theron is 28 years old, the pain caused by her original family makes her very hostile to marriage, and there are some signs of unmarriage. At least until Eric crossed, Theron wasn't married. Now that several people are in good fashion, they will be assigned jobs after the award season, and they will not think about it so much when they are busy. On January 22nd, just a week after MGM relisted, the stock price, which had been flattening out, suddenly soared, rising more than 8%. Because another event happened that was enough to detonate Hollywood. Charlie Cooper officially announced his retirement, and Eric Cooper took over the company entirely. The facts have proven Eric's ability, so the market is generally optimistic about this, and the stock price has naturally risen. Transformers also ushered in the next painting after 2 months of large-scale screenings, and at present, only remote areas in North America and some overseas countries are still continuing, but the impact is not great. At present, the global box office is $943 million US, and it can continue to stay in the championship seat for a while, but The Lord of the Rings 3 is also about to catch up. The North American box office of Adele's Life has exceeded $100 million, reaching an exaggerated $145 million. The overseas box office also earned $32 million, topping the global box office with $177 million. Beat the global box office record of $108 million for same-sex films in Moment to Moment. And All the Time is the film after Nico was sealed last year. Eric suddenly discovered that all of his women, except for Godot, had participated in same-sex movies. It's not bad to think about it. When you sleep together in the future, you will definitely not be able to take care of so many people at the same time, and it's not bad to let them please each other. The North American box office of Sharknado 2 also exceeded $100 million, and it has earned $132 million, more than $10 million more than the previous one, but the potential has almost been tapped. This kind of movie makes quick money. It is specially released for Iron fans. The upper limit is locked. The advantage is low cost, and it makes money no matter how you shoot it. The Female Devil is more miserable, and the North American box office only got more than $17 million in 3 weeks, and we can only hope that the upcoming Golden Globe Awards can turn the movie around. On January 25th, the Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, a big movie party was held here. Broadcast live on NBC and watched by more than 28 million viewers in the US and nearly 400 million people around the world, the Golden Globes are just around the corner. As the 2 most important film awards in the United States, the Golden Globes are known as the outposts of the Oscars. Films and actors who generally win the favor of the Golden Globe will also win the Oscar at the same time, and the Screen Actors Guild Award has the same attributes. However, if you look at the world, the influence of the Golden Globe Awards far exceeds that of the Screen Actors Guild Award. If you don't believe it, you can ask, let alone Asia. Even in Europe, there are very few people who pay attention to the Screen Actors Guild Awards. There are many films shortlisted this year, and The Lord of the Rings 3 is undoubtedly unbeatable, not only with the most nominations, but also with the greatest probability of winning awards. It won 5 nominations: Best Feature Film, Best Director, Best Actor in a Drama, Best Original Song, and Best Original Score. The outside world predicted that the probability of The Lord of the Rings 3 winning the leading actor nomination was very low, and Russell Crowe had a high probability of winning the nomination with The Polar Expedition. But Polar Expedition was too badly pressed by Transformers, and the global box office ended up being $89 million. Compared with the $150 million investment, Miramax vomited blood, and the influence was greatly reduced. So the nomination went to Elijah Wood, who played Frodo, and this is the only actor nomination award that the 3 Lord of the Rings have won so far. As the daughter of the great director Francesco Coppola, Sofia Coppola won 3 nominations for lost in translation, but some media criticized her for relying on her father's influence. Clint Eastwood entered the competition with Mystic River. MGM invested, and he directed Million Dollar Baby, has already started filming. Since the Golden Globe Awards are sponsored by the Foreign Correspondents Association, most of the judges are not professionals, so there are no technical awards such as Best Special Effects and Best Makeup. Therefore, Transformers was miserable and only received one nomination for Best Film Score. However, Adele's Life won 4 awards for Best Picture in a Drama, Best Actress in a Drama, Best Director, and Best Screenplay, all of which were heavyweight awards. The Female Devil won 2 heavyweight award nominations for Best Actress and Best Screenplay in the drama category with a more dark and deep plot. Get Out of Desperate Town also won 2 nominations for Best Screenplay and Best Actor in a Drama. MGM has received a total of 9 nominations for 4 films, ranking first. Kind of Wonder. For the first time, Hilton Hotel, the scene of the Golden Globe Gala. As usual, a long red carpet stretches all the way to the edge of the asphalt road, surrounded by journalists and superfans from all over the world. Huaxia's film this year is Heroes of Heaven and Earth, directed by He Ping, but unfortunately it was not favored by the association and was not shortlisted for the Best Foreign Language Film. This also casts a shadow on the Oscars a month later. The Golden Globe will not be nominated, and the Oscars will most likely return. The result is not as good as last year's Hero. It turns out that the word heaven and earth is useless, and the Huame co-production is also useless. But if it's because of ideological hostility that they deliberately stuck you, that's not it. First, China has not yet hosted the Olympic Games. The eyes of the world have not been focused here, and the West has not yet regarded this dragon as an opponent. Let's take a look at the other shortlisted films: Afghanistan's Teenage Salma, Canada's Savage Invasion, France's Mr. Ibrahim and the Quranic Flowers, Russia's Return, and Germany's Goodbye Lenin. Russia can be shortlisted. Lenin can be shortlisted. What more bicycles? However, Eric still saw Huaxia's media station logos, Sina and Sohu, and the official media did not find it. Look at Eric here, smile. You'll look more handsome when you smile. The corners of Eric's mouth rose slightly, coping with the reporter's shooting. Spielberg, who was passing by, stopped and looked at him curiously. What's the matter, Steve? Am I not dressed properly? Or do I have dirty things on my face? Spielberg shook his head. No, I'm just curious why you're standing here alone. I remember being the director and writer of Transformers and Adele's Life. He is the producer of The Devil Girl and the co-writer and producer of Get Out. There are 4 crews for you to pick from, and it's strange that you're alone. Clint Eastwood also happened to pass by and heard the conversation between the two. The older old man couldn't help but stop and said in a playful tone, "Judging from my life experience, I'm afraid it's because there are too many choices, so he doesn't have a choice." Eric spread his hands helplessly. Do you hear that? The old gentleman summed it up brilliantly. Clint Eastwood was right. He really didn't fit into any group. Godot wants him to be with him. After all, Eric spends the most energy on Transformers. The Olsen sisters think that Adele's Life has the most nominations and that their sisters are the protagonists tonight, and Eric should accompany them. Theron thinks that Eric has promised to help her hit the queen, so he also hopes that he can sit with him and make a strong stand. Although Nico has no works, she knows her ex-husband Tom Cruise very well and understands that the other party will definitely bring his little girlfriend Penelope Cruz to attend. So I hope Eric can accompany her on the red carpet and vow to press each other. Each of the 5 women has their own minds and all want to possess themselves. Eric can't help it. Whoever he is with will cause other people to be unhappy. Forget it, I'll do it myself. While the 3 of them were talking, they heard someone shouting behind them, "Nicole, you are dressed so beautifully today. Take a photo." Eric looked behind him and saw Nico walking over in a gold and white backless dress, high heels on her feet, and a Hermes bag in her hand. She was followed by a wealthy woman half a head lower than her, who looked to be in her 50s, dressed in a black and red dress. Soon the two bumped into each other, and Nico pulled the woman closer and said, "Eric, you look so handsome tonight." "Are you too this one?" asked Eric casually. "My mom, Jenny." "Huh." The woman smiled and said, "Hello, Eric. Nico talked about you, and she said you were a very remarkable person." Unexpectedly, the person opposite turned out to be one of his future mothers-in-law. Out of the soul of Huaxia in his bones, Eric hurriedly shook hands with the other party. "Hello, Jenny. Although this is the first time we have met, I have to say that you are so beautiful, and I have found the reason why Nico has such a beautiful face." Jenny covered her mouth and laughed. "No wonder she said you are a great person, and the words you say are so useful. Come and be a guest at home sometimes, my craft is good. Of course, I've eaten ostrich meat, and I think it must have come from a top chef. Ha 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 ha. Your mouth is so sweet." Nico secretly squeezed Eric's eyes, and then pulled his mother to find her place. Looking at the back of the two leaving, Eric was still a little confused, and completed the first meeting with his mother-in-law in a daze. "When did you bring your mom to the red carpet?" Hearing his muttering, Spielberg said, "Not only did Kidman bring his family, but it seems that many people have a tacit understanding in this regard tonight. Jane Fonda with her son Troy Greedy, Jamie Lee, Curtis with her daughter Anne, Patricia Clarkson with her old father, Kevin Costner with his 17-year-old daughter. Everyone seems to have made an appointment, and many of them are not insiders." Eric joked, "It is said that the entertainment industry has always been cold and ruthless, and I think this Golden Globe Awards, everyone walked the red carpet with their families to show family affection to the outside world. Why not love? Because love is like a passing cloud. Hollywood's divorce rate and cheating rate are higher than those of the French." Entering the hotel to find your seat. This time the layout is similar to the Emmys, all round tables, a crew or familiar people sitting together. The organizers obviously also took into account Eric's actual situation, so the four crews were arranged in a square from front to back, left and right. Eric can sit in a square, so he can switch between each crew at will. But this layout Eric can only scold. "You are really fucking salty and eat radishes and worry about it. Being so close, isn't a few pussies equivalent to facing each other? I just don't want this to happen, and I've always tried to avoid it. Damn the association." In the end, Ashley and Mary took the lead and pulled him to their sides, and the sisters caught him left and right. Godot and Theron, who came one step late, could only scold and sit helplessly, blaming those reporters for not letting them leave. As the hands come to 8 p.m., the 61st TV and Movie Golden Globe Awards officially open. The camera was given to the whole scene, and then the close-up was zoomed in. Michael Douglas, Jack Nicholson, and Cate Blanchett all flashed one by one. Eric waved his hand at the camera, and many women who were watching the live broadcast suddenly sighed that they were so handsome. The point is that not only is it handsome, but also super rich, and it is simply the companion of your dreams. Since being broadcast live on NBC News a few days ago, Eric's fame in the United States has skyrocketed, and the youngest super-rich man is far more famous than his director. Then the host Ellen DeGeneres took the stage and set a talk show, which attracted bursts of applause and laughter from the audience, and the party entered the award ceremony. The first award was Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Film, and Meryl Streep walked onto the stage in a black dress. She's not the type of person who is good at telling jokes, so she starts to go through the process, after saying a few opening lines. The nominees for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama were Peter Sarsgaard's Cover, Ken Watanabe's The Last Samurai, Alec Baldwin's The Cooler, Albert Finney's Big Fish, Tim Robbins' Mystic River, and William K. H. Macy, The Pentium Age. Meryl Streep opened the envelope. The winner is Tim Robbins' Mystic River. The camera is given to Tim Robbins. The 45-year-old writer and director does not need to be introduced. The Shawshank Redemption has proven everything. He smiled and walked up to the stage to accept the trophy and kissed Meryl Streep, a simple nod to the kind that Nico was excited about. After thanking the association and the director and producer, he walked off the stage. Then the four heroines of Sex and the City appeared together to present awards for the Best Actor in a Drama Series. This time, the Golden Globe Award, The Walking Dead, did not receive a single nomination, and many fans were shouting that it was unfair. Some people think that at least the best screenplay should be talented. After all, the script is so well written, and the Emmy Award has been won. But in fact, the Golden Globe Awards TV series did not set up the award of Best Screenwriter at all, and the association may feel that it is not professional enough to judge this award. Although Brother Crossbow won the Best Supporting Actor, it was a drama, comedy, and miniseries competing together, regardless of the award. If you want to get a nomination here, the difficulty directly soars by 3 times, so the Crossbow brother is also brushed down. But it doesn't matter. Darabont is filming the 2nd season of The Walking Dead, the prison chapter of the 3rd season of the original version, and the best chapter is about to begin. I don't believe that I can't conquer the audience and these subjudges. Then Best Actor in a Musical Comedy was won by Bill Murray for his wonderful performance in Lost in Translation. The Lord of the Rings 3 won the Best Original Song and won the first award of the party. On stage, Keanu Reeves, the Savior, and Uma Thurman, the Killer Bride, appeared to present the award for the Best Soundtrack in the film category. The Transformers crew suddenly became nervous, and they all stared firmly at the envelope in Uma Thurman's hand. The soundtrack is an important part of the film. It will make the film more pleasing to the eye, so that the film can enjoy the sensory stimulation and feel the auditory stimulation at the same time. Uma, can you imagine the scene after Pulp Fiction doesn't have a soundtrack? Uma Thurman's feet swayed and her body swayed slightly, making the classic rocking dance from Pulp Fiction. After shaking it a few times, he immediately stopped, covered his face with his hands, and said shyly, "This is simply the most shameful thing in the world." Ha 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 ha. The audience burst into laughter. So the next award is to pay tribute to the masters of the soundtrack, The Lord of the Rings 3, Howard Shaw, The Last Samurai, Hans Zimmer, Cold Mountain, Gabriel Yard, Big Fish, Danny Elfman, Transformers, Steve Jablonsky. The camera goes to everyone who, while behind the scenes, is an important part of Hollywood and film. Uma Thurman opened the envelope and read it with Keanu Reeves. The winner is Howard Shaw of The Lord of the Rings 3. There was instant applause in the hotel, and the Transformers crew was immediately deflated, and the only nomination was lost. Everyone whispered comfort to Steve Jablonsky, and the other party smiled relievedly, and there was no shame in losing to The Lord of the Rings. The awards ceremony continued, and several TV series awards were awarded. To Eric's disappointment, his favorite, Friends, still didn't come to fruition. Chandler, Matt LeBlanc, was nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy Series, but unfortunately lost to Ricky Gervais's The Office. These awards ceremonies seem to have been agreed, or they won't be given to everyone. I don't know if it's because the outside world has gone viral that this year will be the 10th season of Friends, that is, the final season of the show. 6 old friends are tired after 10 years of filming, and each of them has risen to $1.2 million. Is not $1.2 million for a season, but $1.2 million for an episode, and an episode of 6 people is $7.2 million US dollars, plus the expenses of other actors, as well as venues, salaries, machines, etc. The production cost of an episode is nearly $10 million, which is the main reason for the end of the show. But don't think that the cost is high and you will lose money. NBC calculates very clearly, but it makes less money. And the contradiction with the 6 leading actors is already very deep. and it is estimated that there will be more trouble if you continue to shoot, and it is also a good choice to terminate it in time, and everyone will be decent. I should know that Friends is coming to an end, so I plan to save all the awards for the next one, just like The Lord of the Rings. At this time, it was the turn to award the Best Actor in a Drama Film, and the future Marvel Falcon Anthony Mackie was shortlisted, and the crew of Escape from Desperate Town became nervous. When Zirin and Revenal cheered him on, and Eric also stared at the stage, which was the only male role award shortlisted for the 4 MGM films, and he also wanted it. However, the competition is fierce. Sean Penn, Ben Kingsley, Elijah Wood, Jude Law, Tom Cruise, no one is easy to mess with. The winner of the Best Actor in a Drama category was Elijah Wood's The Lord of the Rings 3. After Jennifer Lopez announced the results, Elijah Wood's eyes widened in surprise with an expression of disbelief. The bearded, Hugo Mortensen and others hurriedly hugged him and began to celebrate with force. This result is a bit of a surprise, as Sean Penn has the highest demand for the award, but who made this The Lord of the Rings? Anthony Mackie first sighed, then laughed and applauded. Sure enough, he was still too young and too low in Hollywood. Eric leaned over and patted him on the shoulder to comfort him, and Anthony Mackie smiled. It's no Mr. Cooper. If I hadn't won the award, you and Werner would have improved your chances of winning Best Screenplay. Eric thought to himself. The young man said, "The Falcon will be kept for you." Amid applause, the Golden Globes began a cabaret show featuring Kelly Clarkson, the winner of the first season of American Idol. Seeing and hearing her voice at the scene, Eric remembered that the famous Stronger was her song. I'm sorry, it's mine. After watching the show, a beautiful figure walked from the backstage to the microphone. It was the glittering Nico. She held the envelope in her hand and glanced at her with a blank look. Next up is the Best Screenplay Award, each of which is the best writer, vividly portrayed on page by page beautiful story. With these excellent stories, excellent movies will be born. The nominees for Best Screenplay were Eric Cooper and Revenal for Get Out, Sofia Coppola for Lost in Translation, Patty Jenkins for The Devil and Brian Helgrande for Mystic River. Every time the camera flashed, the audience erupted in applause until Nico read out the last nomination, Eric Cooper, The Life of Adele. The applause suddenly increased violently. With 2 films nominated for Best Screenplay at the same time, this is the first time this has happened at the Golden Globes. Not to mention the Golden Globes, the Oscars, the 3 major European generals, San Sebastian, Tokyo, Golden Horse. It is also the first time that it has happened in all the world's most influential film festivals. In particular, Eric is really too young. Theoretically, his birthday has not yet arrived, so he is not yet 24 years old. At the age of 24, he has already broken many records for this achievement, the youngest Golden Globe screenwriter nomination record, and the youngest Best Screenwriter double nomination record. It will be very difficult for future generations to challenge, and I am afraid that it will only be possible until they send people to Pluto. On stage, Nico opened the envelope and announced with a smile on her face, the winner of the Best Screenplay is